to create beautiful tone on the piano. Welcome back to Learn Piano, a personal practice. I'm Cynthia from Cynthia Ali Studios, a place where you can learn and find your joy in music. Today, we will be learning how to create beautiful tone on the piano. This is something new that we haven't talked about before on this podcast. Each student has their own unique tone quality, and you can learn to develop and expand your tone. Before we get going more in depth in this podcast today, I want to remind you that next week there will be another adult class starting on May 27th at 7 p.m. for 4 weeks. This will be the final session in the Level 1 Mastery to Piano. This would be great if you are looking just for a short refresher for your piano learning. If you already know how to play the basic notes and know how to read simple songs, this would be a great session for you to take. Gain more confidence in your playing and then apply what you've already learned to real music. Now let's talk about tone. Most students start out thinking that the piano is so simple, all you do is press a key, and then a sound comes out. But actually, it is how you touch the key that shapes the quality of the sound, and that's what we call tone. Some people are very naturally lyrical when they play. This is very beautiful for pieces like lullabies or even romances. If you hear a piece something like this, that would be a very lyrical tone. Other people have a more natural sound that is more robust and full. That's a great sound for Chopin mazurkas or polonaises, or even something that sounds like this. You can tell a big difference between the lyrical sound and then this more robust tone. It doesn't matter what kind of sound that you have naturally. The point is that you can build on it. You can work on developing a more expansive vocabulary of sounds. Then you can change the tone according to the character of the piece. Tone is much more than just dynamics, more than just the loud and soft. Tone is the color, the texture, the warmth, the weight of the sound, or even the energy behind it. This is what makes one piano player sound different than the other. Before I get into more specifics about tone color and how to help you develop your vocabulary of sound tones, I want to tell you how I learned about tone in music. When I took piano lessons as a child, my teacher never mentioned to me about different colors of tone. The only thing I knew was to play loud, medium, soft, and use my dynamics. Or I could use staccatos, the pedal, those kind of things. But it was never explained to me in a more specific way. Then, later in life, I heard about tone color more specifically through the teachings of a flutist named Marcel Moïse, a professor at the French Conservatory, and that eventually moved to the United States. He wrote a book called Tone Development Through Interpretation. As I was learning to play these pieces, my teacher told me about thinking of sound. You could make it either translucent or opaque. I had never thought about that before. And it opened up a whole new world to me that I could also apply this to piano. That was the first door open to me, thinking about the specifics of tone quality. Since that time, I have learned many things about tone and how to apply them to my own piano playing. So when you play each note on the piano, you can observe the characteristic of that sound. Is it soft, lovely, hard and abrasive? What are you aiming for in this piece? Does the sound feel translucent or opaque? The piece you are playing has a character and a mood, and does this tone quality that you're using match the piece? As I gave the example of playing a lullaby, so nice and soft with a lyrical tone, would that same song sound good with a robust sound, very heavy? I don't think so. If you were trying to play that song for a baby that was trying to go to sleep, it would wake the child up instead of putting them to sleep. So those are the kinds of things I'm trying to explain by saying the character of the piece. So a lullaby, the purpose of it, the character of it is to lull a child to sleep. So you need to match your tone quality to that piece. No matter what kind of piano you have, whether it's digital or acoustic, your intention still matters when playing the keys. If you have an acoustic piano, the one with the strings, the nuances of tone can be very stunning, and there will be a wide range of tone colors. However, if you have a digital keyboard, it will have less of a range. It'll be harder to get the nuances, but that's okay. You can still make some tone color changes even on a digital keyboard. And once you start to hear the subtleties, your whole relationship with music can begin to shift into something very magical. Now, to actually learn how to change the tone color on the keys, I'm going to show you a couple examples. First, how are you touching the keys? The first way is you could drop your hand down gently on the keyboard like it's a feather. Like you're brushing the key, you could actually move your finger on the key like you're brushing. You also could try another way to make the tone change, and that could be more like you're knocking on a door. Totally different feel than the paintbrush. I'm going to do 2 like a paintbrush, and then 2 like a knock. Same notes, totally different color. Now, you could also play it with a pedal. So you could add in the pedal and play the same thing. And that adds a very shimmery type of tone color. So I'm sure it was obvious to you the differences that the touch can make. You can think of these 3 things. Also, you can think about how far down are you pushing the key. If you push the key down just lightly, like halfway, not coming down so far into the end, it's going to be softer and lighter. Or if you push with more depth all the way down, that really, you can hear the difference in that. Another way you can change the tone is through your articulation. You can do slurring, staccato, accented, for myself, sometimes I like to think about it in an artist way. Meaning, I am making colors with sound, and so if I have a paintbrush, I can choose different kinds of brush tips. They can be very thin for outlining, they could be medium, they could be fanned out. Like, what kind of brush would I be using to paint on the blank canvas? So you can think about that in the same way when you're playing your sounds. What are you trying to paint with that sound? Are you trying to paint a thin, very delicate sound, or are you trying to paint a very broad and wide stroke? So I'm just going to play a C on the keyboard, middle C, and I'm going to think of it as I have my finger, but I'm thinking of it as a very thin paintbrush. And now I'm going to change the tone by thinking of what kind of tip does that paintbrush have. This time, I'm going to imagine that it's very wide and broad. So just like in paint, you could have just one color. Let's say it's a very royal blue. You could make that royal blue be a very thin line, or you can make that royal blue a very thick line. So just another way to think about it. My mind always works in artistic ways, imagination and color. So that's how I apply art to music and music to art. They're kind of intertwined in my mind. So that's how I like to explain it. So that gives you a few ideas to start playing around with how to make your tone sound different. Now let's go into some more specific ways to expand your vocabulary. I'm going to give you some words and thoughts to think about. You can think about tones like the five senses. You can think about it as sights. You can think about it as textures, like the feel. You can think about it as even smells, tastes, and then like what you're hearing. So those are the five senses. And then let's just start out with colors. So if you were going to play a yellow color, what would that sound like? So yellow has a more thin, light, airy, so that would be a yellow. To me, that would sound like yellow. Yours might be different, but this is a way to expand the vocabulary. So if you had a song that was more cheerful, more airy and light, maybe it's about a daisy, then you could think about the tone color that you would use would be yellow. But what about if it's a deep, dark purple? So there's another tone. For that one, I pushed harder on the key, and then I also added the pedal. And for me, that has more of a sound like purple. Some other ways to think about it is with the texture. So if you had a piece of velvet fabric, how would velvet sound to you on the piano? So for me, it would sound something like this. So soft with a little depth. I played a few notes together. To me, that sounded very smooth and soft. Another way you can think about it is with feathers. We did that at the beginning. How would it sound if you were just touching each key like you had feathers for fingers? So that would feel more airy, like drifting in the air, so light and floating. Another one I love is thinking about raindrops. Raindrops hitting the window glass. I love that sound. So you can imagine that on your keyboard and make that type of tone also. For the raindrops, it was more of a precise tone so that you could clearly hear that raindrop, but not very heavy. It was more of a transparent tone that wasn't so dark and deep. I love this sound thinking of silk, like a silk ribbon or a silk scarf. So smooth and flowing, almost like how you would see a dancer when they're twirling with their beautiful silk scarves. Now imagine that you are trying to do a tone color like ice. Cold, crisp, clean, and you could make it shimmery like how frost is on the window. For that, I'm going to do a petal and then make the tone sound more crisp and clean. That sound of ice reminded me of the ice castle that they had in the city that I live in, St. Paul. My grandparents lived on a lake at Phelan, and they built the ice castle, and you could see it from their driveway, and it was all lit up in the evening, and it was so beautiful, and that tone quality reminds me of that moment in my life. And the last one I just want to talk about is fog. So this is going to be mysterious, gentle, blurry. So the foggy tone reminds me of Sherlock Holmes when he was on the moor in The Hound of the Baskervilles. So how would this sound? Mysterious, foggy, blurry, and they'd probably feel a little cold in the air. So this is what foggy would sound like to me. Tone colors are so much fun to explore. This week, start thinking about what is your natural tone color. When you come and sit at the piano and you play your favorite song, what tone are you using? Most people sound like they're using a blue color when they first start out, and it's pretty solid. There's not much light or air in the tone. It's pretty just basic, straight ahead. And that is a great default tone color. So now you just want to start expanding it outward. Start looking for those lighter tones, the ones like colorful. If you think of yellow and pink, more airy and light, like light blue, pale blue sky. And then you can start adding in the deeper tones, the black tones, the fogginess. So just become creative, think outside the box, and see what you can come up with. Now, this is a skill that doesn't happen overnight. It's just something you just build on little by little as you go. And just mostly at this point, just open your mind up to exploring all these new sounds that you can make on your piano. Thank you so much for being here today to listen to Learn Piano, a personal practice. Next week, we'll be talking about musicality in piano, so you don't want to miss it. And then also, I want to just tell you, you can start thinking ahead. This summer, there will be a 6-week summer class designed for adult students who have completed level 1, or you already know how to basically read notes. This will help you stay sharp over the summer, gain more confidence in your playing, and then apply what you've already learned to real music. This is going to start on June 24th. It will last for 6 weeks, and the class will be for a half hour long. You can check the show notes or the website, cynthiaalistudios.com/piano community for more details. As always, don't forget that we have a piano studio book club, and we're reading The Little Chronicle of Anna Magdalena Bach. We are a little over halfway through, so come join us and you can become a part of this discussion. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like and subscribe and follow so that you never miss another episode. I can't wait to continue this journey with you. Until next time, keep practicing the piano and enjoying music.